When it comes to Pokemon battling, having a Pokemon with the right 4 moves is extremely important. In fact, it's so important that I'm just gonna ignore it. I've used a team of Pokemon that have had only 2 moves in their moveset before, but in today's video, I'm using a full team of Pokemon with only 1 move in their moveset. As you can imagine, having just 1 move to use on a Pokemon made things really difficult. This is the team of Pokemon that I am using for this video, and I want you to comment down below and guess what 1 move that I have on each of these Pokemon. Go on, leave your best guess. I'm not going anywhere. And while you're at it, please consider subscribing. I specialize in doing these fun and unique Pokemon teams, and I would really appreciate it if you do. Now with that, let's get right into these battles. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, lovely people. Today I am using a Pokemon team with just 1 move. This was extremely difficult to do. I definitely had a lot of battles with this team, as you can imagine, and I chose some of the best ones that I got with this team. So with that, let's get right into this first game. So right off the bat, I just want to say I have like a new layout that I'm kind of testing out right now, just because I never really made use of my full layout that I used to use. So I hope this is at the very least better, because now I have my battle actually like full screen. So I'm gonna lead off with my Staraptor here. Now this Staraptor is a bit of a bait because I don't have Intimidate, and I kind of nicknamed it after the fact that I could be alluding to Brave Bird. But of course, my only attacking move on this is Final Gambit. I am Choice Scarf, Final Gambit Staraptor, and that is really good to get early on the KO on the Deoxys defense, because that is a very bulky Pokemon to get out of the way immediately. So I'm going to bring in my Thundurus Therian next. Now, I had a Choice Scarf on my Staraptor. This is a Choice Specs Thundurus Therian. Now, the choice items are actually really ideal for a team like this where I only have 1 move, because choice items, how they work is that you get like a special attack boost. Like, for example, the Choice Specs give you a special attack boost, but at the cost of you only being able to use 1 move. And since I only have 1 move on my movesets, then it's like a really solid item that I could run on my Thundurus Therian. So I'm going to bring back in my Thundurus on this Zapdos Zap Cannon. And that's really good because I'm going to be able to nullify that with my Volt Absorb. Now, they're going to go for the Detect. I didn't realize that this Zapdos would have that move in its moveset, but I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go for the Volt Switch anyway. Volt Switch is also a pretty solid move for a team like this, because then I could pivot out into whatever matchup that I want, and it forms a solid core with my Scizor, which you'll see in a moment. So, bringing in my Hisuian Samurott, that is going to cause the Serperior to want to come in. And this Pokemon is a giant threat considering it has Contrary Leaf Storm. I wasn't sure what if it was running like Terra Blast Fire or anything, but as I get hit with the Leaf Storm, it doesn't really do anything to me, and they are going to swap out. So I was like, okay, well, they might not have Terra Blast Fire on this. Now, this Scizor is running Choice Banded U-Turn. So with my Thundurus Therian, I have a strong Choice Specs Volt Switch, and I have a strong Choice Banded U-Turn from my Scizor, and that like forms a really solid like pivoting core between like using U-Turn and using Volt Switch. It was like one of the best like moves that I could probably use on a team where I only have 1 move per Pokemon. It really made things difficult. Also, the fact that if I ran into a Pokemon that had like an immunity, like a ground type Pokemon or a Pokemon with Volt Absorb, that made things so much more difficult. So I'm gonna go for the U-Turn as this not the Solgaleo, the Necrozma Duskmane goes for the Dragon Dance. They're gonna go for the Rock Blast. So I was like, okay, well, they're more than likely loaded dice Rock Blast on this set. My Samurott is just gonna be able to tank it. So I was like, okay, this is perfect. I could KO this with the super effective Ceaseless Edge. I thought Ceaseless Edge was a really good move for this because it's an attack. Look, I only have 1 move. Unfortunately, I missed, by the way. But it's an attack that hits the opponent really hard because of Samurott's sharpness ability. But also, it could set up spikes, and that's really important, rather than just me having to use the actual move spikes. So unfortunately, I get taken out there, and I have to use my Scizor here to take the hit. And the thing about this Scizor is that I'm actually running I'm running Swarm on this. Now, Swarm is an ability that boosts bug type moves if you're on low HP. And I think because of that, I was able to take out the Necrozma with the U-turn, which is nice. I think it was like a really close roll anyway, but getting the KO on that super threatening Pokemon was really nice. Now, the Lycanroc Dusk is going to come in next, and I don't want to get hit by an Accelerock from this, so I'm going to sacrifice my Scizor, which does open me up to the Serperior in the back. Now, I'm going to bring in my Calyrex Shadow Rider. Of course, I have to use this Pokemon, not necessarily because I have Astral Barrage, but because I have Metronome on this set. Now, Metronome is a move that can cause any move to be called, so I thought it would be really funny to use on the set. Unfortunately, I get freaking Flip Turn. That was actually not ideal, even though I hit it for super effective damage, because my Thundurus is going to take a lot of damage, and I really didn't have a lot to switch in to this Lycanroc, so that Flip Turn really screwed me over. I had to sacrifice my Thundurus. So this Lycanroc Dust is also really threatening with its Life Orb. It does so much damage. So I'm going to bring back in my Calyrex Shadow. What I was really worried about was losing to the Serperior in the endgame. So that Accelerock did a lot of damage, by the way. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to go for the Metronome, try to see what kind of move I can get. And they ended up getting Syrup Bomb, which is really interesting. That's like a High Grapple signature move, and that takes out the Lycanroc, so that's good. But the issue is that Serperior is in the back, and they could boost up with Leaf Storm, and I don't want to have to rely on Metronome because it's going to disappoint me, right? What are the odds that I'm going to get a good move? So I was like, well, I have to rely on them missing Leaf Storm here. And they do! I was like, oh my gosh, I did not expect that to work out in that way. Because, obviously, I was going to Fate. But my only way was for Leaf Storm to miss. Because I have an Eviolite on this Basculin. And, of course, I'm running the most broken move ever. A.K.A. Last Respects, which gets more powerful the more Pokemon I have fainted. It starts at 50 base power, but gets plus 50 the more Pokemon are fainted. So it's a 250 base power move right now. And that takes out the Serperior. Oh my gosh. Because if the Serperior got a +2 in special attack, even if I Terrasilize, it would have taken me out. So my only out was for the Leaf Storm to miss, and I freaking missed. I can't believe that game. That game was crazy. Now, that is going to lead into game number 2, and I have to say, if you're enjoying this video, please consider hitting the like button. I would appreciate it. And this team that I'm facing, it definitely has some very threatening Pokemon. The ground types are going to be really annoying for my Thundurus, like I mentioned previously. So, let's see if I can find a way to get around these ground types, and these generally really bulky and threatening Pokemon as a whole. So, this time my opponent is going to lead with the Quagsire. This is a very bulky, unaware guy, and I just want to get rid of this Pokemon as soon as possible. I always let off on my Staraptor because going for the final Gambit always ensured at the very least I could get a 1-for-1, but man, this Quagsire it has so much HP, unfortunately. Staraptor has less HP. I'm running max HP on that as well. How Final Gambit works is that it does damage to the opponent based on the amount of HP that you're at. So, because of the fact that I have lower health than this Quagsire, I wasn't able to take it out. But I do threaten it with my Choice Banded U-turn from my Scizor. But I'm surprised they swapped into Hydreigon because I was able to go for the U-turn and take that out in one hit. I think they might have expected me to just Bullet Punch for the priority KO. Then they could Revenge KO me with like a Fire Blast or something. But even then, my Choice Banded Bullet Punch was doing like over half to that Hydreigon. So that's a really good KO nonetheless. And I'm going to bring in my Hisuian Samurott. Threaten the Ceaseless Edge and get up the spikes. But Annihilate comes in. And I'm really, I really don't want to take a Drain Punch from this Pokemon. At the same time, though, this Pokemon is definitely very intimidating for this team, considering that if I continue to hit it, then it's only going to boost the power of its Rage Fists. And it's going to do a lot of damage to me. So I kind of swapped into my Scizor here, and they are gonna go for the Ice Punch. So I was like, okay, well, they had a move to hit my my Thundurus super effectively. I wasn't expecting that. Normally Annihilate just carries like Bulk Up, Drain Punch, and Rage Fist. So bringing in my Calyrex, this Cinderace was a big problem. So I kind of had to try to weaken it as best as I possibly could. Unfortunately, the Toxic Spikes were also really annoying because my team does not have any way to remove any kind of hazard, so I'm always going to be susceptible to whatever my opponent sets up. So I'm going to go for the Metronome here, and I get Metronome Ember. Oh my gosh, that was so terrible. It's so weak. The the Cinderace is gonna go for the Pyro Ball now. It does a lot of damage, and I thought I just need to get a really powerful move against this Cinderace. I'm such a victim to my own metronome shenanigans. And I end up getting Last Respects. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got that move. But because I only have one Pokemon that's fated, it's only 100 base power, and Calyrex's Shadow's attacks is not good at all. So it just barely misses the KO on this. Now, I'm going to outspeed the Cinderace. I was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting to outspeed this. I'm not Choice Scarfed on this, Samurott. I'm actually running a Metronome on this. Now, Metronome is a really interesting item that if you use the same move over and over, the move gets more and more powerful until it doubles in base power, I believe, over like 5 turns. And it's a really interesting item for this team, considering that I only have Ceaseless Edge as my attacking move on that Samurott. So, again, I don't want to take a Drain Punch from this, so I'm just going to swap into my Thundurus here. I was thinking that this might not be especially defensive Annihilate, and that it might be just more offensive, so I'm just going to go for the Specs Volt Switch. Doesn't do half to this though, so maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but they do go for the Ice Punch, which does nothing to my Scizor. I was worried about it. Like freezing me in that instance, but they do reveal that they are leftovers. So now the Annihilate swaps out. The interesting thing about this team is that I could feign that I'm running like a full moveset, because who's gonna expect me to only be running one move on each of my Pokemon? So the Choice Banded U-Turn does so much damage thanks to that crit. This Excadrill I definitely needed to get rid of, as well as the Quagsire that they were saving in the back, and making sure that I set up my spikes was really good, because the Quagsire was on a very low amount of HP. And if I set up a layer of spikes, then that can ensure that the Quagsire cannot ever swap in. So the Excadrill is going to go for the Rapid Spin. I was like, please don't miss. That would be really, really bad, because then they get the spin off for free and I won't be able to have any layer of spikes, and they can revenge KO me with the Earthquake afterwards. But thankfully, I don't miss. And even though they spun away my spike, I am just going to get a layer set up right back again. And that is really, really good. I'm going to take some poison damage, but I thought this is really good because the Quagsire is, you know, it's fated. Bye. So there goes the Quagsire. I was good that they sacked that, because they couldn't use it as a sacrifice later on. So Diance's going to come in. It's funny because I could easily threaten this with an Aqua Cutter, and they're probably really scared of that, which is why they are terrestrializing into a Fairy type. But little do they know that I only have Ceaseless Edge. And the thing about Hisuian Samurott is that Sharpness boosted Ceaseless Edge, especially after repeated Metronomes. They really do start doing a number of damage. The problem with Metronome is that if you miss your attack, or if the opponent uses a move like Protect, then it resets the Metronome, the power boost you get from the move through Metronome. Not through the item Metronome, not the move Metronome. Sorry, I was thinking about my Calyrex. So, going for the Choice Specs Volt Switch, Diancie is really bulky on both the defensive and special defensive side, so it was just able to tank that. And as I bring up my Scizor here, they're gonna go for the Meteor Beam, and I was thinking that this is definitely Power Herb Meteor Beam. There is no chance that my Scizor is going to be able to take this, but at the very least, the game was set up to where my Basculin is gonna come in and outspeed everything, and I have adaptability Last Respects. Now, the thing about adaptability is that it doubles the moves of your same type, and that basically meant that I had to force myself to terrestrialize into the Ghost type so that I could make use of the adaptability boost, but also just the extreme strength of Last Respects in general. I ended up putting in a Violite on this Basculin. I went back and forth between a lot of items, because I didn't really want to repeat items on this team, so I didn't want to run another Choice Scarf Pokemon, or Choice Banded Pokemon. So I gave this a Violite. I thought about giving it like a Life Orb, or a Spooky Plate, or a Focus Sash, but I thought a Violite giving me extra bulk was definitely very pivotal. It was definitely pivotal in the last game versus the Leaf Storm Superior. But anyway, I'm going to be able to outspeed and KO both the Diancie and the Annihilate, and that's the end of that second game, really proving just how devastating Last Respect could be as a move. But it's definitely a good move to have in this one move Pokemon team. Now, that is going to lead into the third and final game for this video. It's definitely the longest battle that I had. So first of all, I want to say thank you so much for watching this far in the video. I really appreciate it. And I want to say this battle was an absolute car crash of a battle. This battle was pretty insane, and it definitely had some just amazing moments in it. So I hope you enjoyed this third and final game to its fullest. So this time my opponent is gonna lead off with the Klefki, and as always I'm gonna lead off with my my Scarf Final Gambit Staraptor. Now this Klefki is gonna be able to set up the Reflect, but that is all it's gonna be able to set up. I'm gonna deny that completely and take out the Klefki, which is good because I don't have to worry about screens. But having to deal with even just Reflect was a nuisance for me. So bringing in my Thundurus Therian here, they're gonna swap into the Rillaboom. Their team had some very bulky Pokemon that I needed to get rid of, and Gastrodon was the ground type that I needed to be wary of with this set. Now, the Volt Switch is going to hit the Rillaboom for very strong damage, even though it's resisted, and that's going to allow me to swap into my Scizor. Unfortunately, they go for the knockoff, and that's going to be able to knock off my Choice Band, so that's just a detriment for me, because now U-Turn is going to be a lot weaker. So they're going to bring in the Glimmora. This was another Pokemon that was really annoying for me, because it's going to be able to set up the layer of Toxic Spikes with its ability, and again, I don't have any way to remove Toxic Spikes. And I really don't have a way to hit this Pokemon super hard either, because it's a it's like, I don't have like a super effective move for this. So the best thing for me to do was to swap into my Calyrex here, and already resorting to this, and try to see if I can get as much Metronome luck and damage as possible. The other thing is that the grassy terrain is also healing this Glimmora, and it reveals that it's Spiky Shield. So that's also something that's going to increase its longevity. I'm just going to go for the Metronome, and I actually end up getting Metronome Synthesis, which is just amazing. I took so much damage, I just have to recover it all back. So the Glimmora is now going to be at like full HP thanks to the grassy terrain, and I was really hoping for like a Psychic move or just something to hit this thing. So now they're going to swap it to Tyranitar. This is another bulky Pokemon that's such a pain for me because of the fact that it gets a special defense boost thanks to the sand. My Calyrex is going to withdraw, which is not really going to help me because even with the defense boost, I'm definitely going to get smacked by a dark move from this at full. So I thought, if I get a fighting move, that would be really ideal because I could potentially take this out in one hit. I'm actually running a max attack on this with like mild nature to boost my special attack. Unfortunately, I get Spirit Shackle, which is the Decidueye signature move. The fun thing about Metronome is just seeing all of the different signature moves used. And it's also a stab ghost move, so that's nice. What's not nice is that I just get absolutely walloped by a crunch from this thing. So there goes my Calyrex, and I'm really at like a disadvantageous position at the moment. So I'm gonna swap into my Hisuian Samurai. I'm kind of baiting the fact that I'm running like Aqua Cutter or like Sacred Sword on this, and that's gonna draw in the Gastrodon, which is for sure the Storm Drain ability. Now, unfortunately, they're Rocky Helmet, and that's bad because they're gonna get Rocky Helmet chip, Sandstorm chip, and Poison chip on my Hisuian Samurai, and that's a lot of damage that I'm taking like immediately. So I'm gonna go for another Ceaseless Edge. The Reflect being up was also really annoying for me as well, but I am setting up layers of spikes. The problem is that they could have the potential to Mortal Spin and remove my spikes with the Glimmora. I'm not sure what set that Pokemon is running, but this Gastrodon is going to go for the Rock Tomb and drop my speed. I'm taking a lot of damage, but the Reflect is going to run out this turn. So I was like, okay, if I go for the Ceaseless Edge, it's the third Ceaseless Edge in a row, I should be able to take this out, but I freaking miss. No, and then they go for the Recover. That was devastating, because I would have been able to take out the Gastrodon with that Ceaseless Edge. This Samurai was like, in all of the battles that I did, I never missed more Ceaseless Edges in my life. Although, to be fair, this is the first time that I'm ever using this Pokemon, but like, I missed so much, and it's a 90% accurate move, so just a 10% chance was really just like, it sucked, honestly. So the Gastrodon is now going to be at practically full HP, and that is a serious problem. I am so behind in this game. So I have to go for the U-turn and still activate this Pokemon's Toxic Debris ability, and that's going to set up 2 layers of Toxic Spikes, which is going to be something that is annoying because my Basculin is now going to take toxic damage rather than just normal poison damage. So I'm going to go for the Volt Switch. They do just go for the Spiky Shield. And on their anticipated Gastrodon switch, I'm going to double into my Scizor here. And they do end up going to Gastrodon. So the problem with this is that I'm going to take some Rocky Helmet chip damage from this Pokemon. And it's going to do a decent amount of damage. I was thinking that this Gastrodon might be more like specially defensive. So my only out here is to go into my Basculin. It is still a 200 base power move though, at the very least. They are going to go for another Rock Tomb. They're going to continue dropping my speed. But Gastrodon is very slow anyway. So I'm going to be able to outspeed this. And now I have to Terrasilize this turn. I was like, okay. I'm not sure if this is going to be able to take this out. I mean, it might, honestly. Actually, it definitely probably will. But the thing is, like, I really need to get rid of this because of the fact that my Thundurus is very walled by this. And my core with Thundurus and Scizor is looking really great right now. So they do stay in. That's what I was hoping, that they would stay in. And the Last Respects is going to be enough to take out the Gastrodon, which is really, really good. So now they're going to bring in the Rillaboom. I know for a fact this Pokemon is going to just go for the Grassy Glide. I wasn't sure if this was like choice banded, but I don't want to be susceptible for this Pokemon's priority move. Oh my gosh, I'm narrating for so long, I'm like slipping over my words. And they do end up Terrasilizing immediately. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, they are definitely going to threaten me with the Terra Grass Grassy Glide, which definitely would have done a number to my Basculin. But luckily, I do have my Scizor to 4 times resist that. Still kicking. Even without a choice band, I should be able to do some pretty great damage to their team besides the Glimmora. And even then, I could go for the U-turn and go into my Thundurus and threaten them out with big damage with Volt Switch. This is a battle that really showcases how good the core of Scizor and Thundurus is. Except if they're Stealth Rocks, because Stealth Rocks really killed Thundurus Therian, unfortunately. But the fact that my Scizor is a Steel type and Thundurus is a Flying type is really good, because that means that I avoid Toxic Spikes as well. So, Glimmora is going to go for another Spiky Shield, probably getting more grassy terrain recovery, and I'm just going to go for another Volt Switch. Now, they are on a very low amount of health, so that means that they are going to be susceptible to fainting, and the Rillaboom swaps back in, and that's really good because obviously I can only go for Volt Switch. And that's going to put it in range for my Scizor to come in and not revenge KO, but like, I always say revenge KO if like the Pokemon is on low HP, but it's going to come in and get the KO on the Rillaboom. Now, the Rillaboom is going to go for the Grassy Glide, just get as much chip damage as they can versus me, and this is solid because it's putting me in Swarm range, I believe. So, the U-turn is going to take out the Rillaboom, and there goes their Terra option as well. Now, I'm worried about both the Tyranitar and the Glimmora that they have in the back, because the Glimmora with Spiky Shield can stall out my Basculin's toxic damage, and that's really not ideal. So, bringing back in my Thundurus, Tyranitar is going to swap back in, and Tyranitar is going to get the Sandstorm back up, and it's going to be bulky enough to take this Volt Switch from me. It does solid damage, but like, it's unfortunate because I have to sacrifice my Scizor. I don't want to swap in my my Basculin to a Crunch because I'm a Ghost type and I'm weak to that, and I really rely on my Basculin to win me in this endgame. Now, I'm going to go for the Last Respects. It was actually really close on whether or not the Tyranitar was going to faint from this range, but thankfully, I get the KO, and my Last Respect is now at 250 base power, which is really, really crazy. But the thing is, I'm going to take some Sandstorm damage and some Poison damage on top of that. And the Glimmora is going to come back, dude. Now, this was when the battle got absolutely just, ugh. So, I swapped out here because I definitely thought that the Glimmora would go for the Spiky Shield, anticipating that that they would like stall out the turns with my Toxic, but they go straight for the Power Gem. Oh my gosh, I was like, oh my gosh, did I just throw this game? So they go for another Spiky Shield. I was like, that's what I thought they would do previously. So Last Respect is just going to hit the Spiky Shield. Thankfully, it doesn't do contact. Otherwise, I would have taken even more chip damage. But as I take Sandstorm damage and Poison damage, I was like, they're just gonna swap into the Sinistra and then like Spiky Shield again, and then they get another Spiky Shield in a row. I was like, no, I definitely lost. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I threw this game by swapping in Thundurus, because now they can swap into the Sinistra and then swap back into Glimmora and go for Spiky Shield, and I just go down to the toxic damage, right? But they stay in. What? They stayed in? I can't believe they stayed in, because the Glimmora is going to go down. I'm going to be able to live the toxic damage after that. And the last Pokemon is the Sinistra, which has absolutely no way of outspeeding me. It's weak against my last respects. And they get hit by the spikes damage, so if it was like some crazy Focus Sash set, then like there's no chance. But I'm able to take that out with the last respects. Oh my gosh, I did not expect that game. I really thought that I lost that game. Again, absolute car crash of an ending. I should not have sacked my Thundurus there. But at the same time, I needed my Basculin for the Sinistra, because Thundurus wasn't ever beating that. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this entire video. I really appreciate it. My name is SkyLaaa. Don't forget to smile, and I will see you all next time.